We are live. Welcome to another installment of the Final Scoop podcast. My name is Robert Schinetsky, the supplement engineer, joining us for our weekly roundtable of all things supplements and bullshit and banter. Robert Samborsky, Apollon Nutrition, Lukasz, Rytkowski, Prometeus Intelligent Sports Technology, Shane Smith, Stack.com, and special guest joining us this week, Drew Peters, Dragon Pharma Labs, the Director of Scientific Affairs and Industry Veteran. Welcome, my friends. How are we doing?
Doing great, man. It's good to see you.
Outstanding. For all of you tuning in for the live feed, we appreciate you joining us. Post up any comments, questions, queries, quips that you've got for our panel here, and we'll do our best to answer each and every question. And first, let's start. Drew, we've had you on the Supplement Engineer podcast before, so we've kind of rehashed like your entire history. But let's do like a greatest hits thing. And how did you arrive to become the Director of Scientific Affairs at Dragon Pharma?
Okay, well, I've been in the industry like a long time veteran-wise, both on formulation side, but even before that, I was kind of on the opposite side of things. I started on the consumer side, co-founded supplementreviews.com back in the day. Don't even bother looking the website up. It's a dumpster fire. It looks nothing like what it used to be. It's like, to me, it's dead. It looks nothing like everything we built is gone. So I stood on the bus. I didn't care. But I ran that site basically for 5 years, ran it during college, all the way through grad school, and even a few years after that, made a lot of connections and kind of got in the consulting and formulation side, stemming off of that, using my background, and built it from there. Consulted for a lot of brands. First full-time gig was at VPX in South Florida in late 2015. I was actually previously going to move and take over a role at Isotory in Colorado that kind of fell through after they got acquired by Fit Life Brands, but life works in mysterious ways. So I worked at VPX after that for about a year. I was off the books. I consulted on different aspects of things. And then I became Director of Scientific Affairs at ProSups. Many of you there know me. That's because I really got on the radar for a lot of people that didn't know me yet. And then that really catapulted that forward. We made some really cool things. The Hydra BCAA, Dr. Jekyll Stim-Free, Hyde Icon is the one that was probably the most well-renowned. Is very different, expensive, and a cool product. But there's that. I did a brief stint at GAT, and the opportunity came up to relocate to South Florida and take the reins and help reinvent a very young brand that is kind of just starting to pop up in the U.S. market over the last year, dominant in Brazil at Dragon Pharma. And then I took the role of Director of Scientific Affairs with our CEO, Jader. Actually went down during my wedding week of all things and took a meeting with him, and he offered me a job that same day. And I was like, bro, I will see you in South Florida, and that's where wifey's from. All our friends are here, so it was a good move. It's where we're happy at, and it couldn't have worked out better. A year later, we've launched tons of SKUs, reinvented some, launched new things on top of that, and it's been a very, very busy year. And here we are. We have a massive 2021 already planned. So that's a brief synopsis of everything.
Outstanding. That was a quick hit, and I like it, man. It was rapid fire. Good stop. And Pete Pasmus chiming in, starting to think everybody started off working for VPX. There are a lot of.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's so crazy. A lot of people that I've worked with and or know, it seems everybody has worked at VPX at some point in time. And interestingly, there's a massive rivalry. I don't know if people know this. VPX and ProSups are massive, at least used to be rivals, because a large part of VPX's founders and team came from VPX. There's a backstory there that I don't know if I can detail, but Jack Owak is not happy about that, and I'll leave it at that. But a lot of people that are, most people that co-founded ProSups, and a lot who since moved on, defected from VPX and ran ProSups. And to this day, I don't think Jack sleeps well at night living with the fact of how that went down, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, and you touched on the Hydro BCAA, which was actually it was called Hydro BCAA, but it was actually an EAA formula. Yes. And you guys like Primeval released those EAA formulas within like a month or two of each other. And before that, every EAA formula that had ever really come out, with the exception of maybe Purple Wrath from Controlled Labs, tasted horrible. And like you two guys were the front runners for like delicious tasting EAA formulas.
Yeah, it's crazy because I remember also I've been here a long time, just like you guys have, and it's crazy. I like to kind of reminisce, and like the old saying is like, bro, if she doesn't remember the first no explode, she's too young for you, man. That's kind of how the old thing goes. Because I like to play that game. What's the first supplement you ever used? And people like in our age, like, it was like either no explodes, the first pre-workout, and like for Assemble, everybody did muscle milk back in the day or Gold Standard Whey. It's like what kind of set that industry bar. Then it was Jack, and everybody kind of moved on, or Super Pump. It's crazy because nobody cared about pre-workout until about 2005, 2006. No Explode is like one of those things that I would classify as a game changer. That was the first pre-workout that actually people became mainstream. And it was Super Pump and No Explode neck and neck. And the next, everybody is a pre-workout. Then it kind of caught on with the same path. Then it came along Ultra Concentrate. Jack 3D hopped on board, which neither here nor there, what was actually in the product. Just leave it at that. That changed the game again. Everybody did these high-tech, the high-stone pre-workout bombs that set the pace. And then the next became these massive protein tub-sized scoops of pre-workout, the full disclosure, throw everything in, like a massive 15, 16-gram scoop. And that was the next trend, full transparency. And, I think that was kind of a thing that worked against itself over time. The whole people that did the massive scoop said, okay, like how can you possibly have an effective pre-workout in like a 3-gram scoop? It's like, okay, do you want basically synthetic drugs or amphetamines, or do you want something that has like clinical data like for performance? But people like their crack, man.
Absolutely. Did you ever try the Ultimate Orange way back in the day, Drew?
I did not. That was before my time. I was born in 90, so that was before my time.
Yeah, well, Pete's old balls. He's like in his late 40s, I think, maybe early 50s.
Yeah, I was a few years too late for that. So, but I've heard legendary things about it, and one of the cool
TJ's time.
Yeah, exactly.
What about Robic?
Yeah, no, I've used it. It's
oh damn.
I've used it. I think I caught like the end of it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think that as far as I remember, it definitely had ephedra in it. And I mean real ephedra, not the bullshit that they claim that they have today in pre-workouts. It definitely, I remember the energy on it was phenomenal. I mean, it was really, it kicked ass. It didn't have, as far as I remember, none of that citrulline, none of that like what we do today. It was just a pure energy in the powder. And as far as I remember, it actually tasted really, really good. Yeah. I do remember. But the thing is like, by the way, Drew, nice to meet you. I heard great things about you. And, the thing is something that Drew mentioned, and it's actually very, very interesting about the pre-workouts, how they evolved since 2005, from the days of NO Explode and all that. It's interesting. Yesterday, I saw a retail store that actually sells, I think it's their own pre-workout, because they said that that's the only place where you can find it is actually at their store and online. I tried to go online to see the supplement facts because I'm a geek, and clearly I couldn't find any. I just saw the front of the label, and the front of the label, it had like what Drew said, about 3, 4, 5 grams per serving or something like that, 30 servings. But on the side of the label, the front side of the label, it said DMAA, DMHA, ephedra. And, exactly. The name of the pre-workout, I'm not going to call him out right now just because I don't know the guy. Trust me, I really want to. It's just my nature of doing it. I'll text it to you later because it's absolutely fucking pathetic, that people would stoop to that level. Really degrading. And of course, he proclaims that it's the strongest pre-workout on the market. But the thing is that even though we went from NO Explode, we evolved so much. Not that I'm knocking them, but we evolved. Let's call it evolving.
I don't know if that kind of classes as evolution, but go on.
Yeah, exactly. We're on a whole different level in terms of like quality supplements. There are quality pre-workouts on the market, and not just by 1 or 2 companies. I mean, to be fair, there are numerous of companies that are putting out pretty good pre-workouts. Well formulated, well dosed. But and actually, Drew, I want your take on it because you've been in the industry for quite some time. I mean, I have my own opinion, but would love to hear yours. We evolved, and kudos to what you guys do. You definitely put out good pre-workouts, and good products. However, what is your opinion on the fact that we still have today garbage on the market? Because I mean, that's the only way of calling it. I can't really say that it's a pre-workout. Garbage that is still spiked with crap, that it still has illegal substances in it. It still has it, and they are selling well. They are actually selling pretty well. There is demand for it. I mean, we can point finger at the brands, who are putting out crap products, but obviously they making money. Obviously they fooling the the consumer. Obviously, the retailers are to blame as well because they selling and endorsing that crap and they doing it, without any ounce of shame, which is disgusting, to be honest. But how do you, like, I know from Apollon's perspective, what we do, not that we are succeeding. I don't think we can succeed at beating them. We just have to pray and target our own audience, the educated consumer, the ones that actually can read the labels and the ones that actually know what they're getting. But what is your take on that situation?
Well, there's a few things to unbox here. So first and foremost, I'd be lying if I said that if I could still make products that have DMHA, DMAA, so on and so forth. People want those products because people want crack. People want cocaine. No.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. And I miss DMA and DMHA too. I think that, they definitely, in my opinion, especially DMA being banned, that's a whole other subject. But I'm talking about prop blends with not just DMA and DMHA, but like you said, amphetamines and stuff like that, the ones that are not being regulated and spiked with real crap and dangerous substances.
Well, I'm getting to that. So basically, there's a few folds here, things I've seen lately. Most brands won't touch DMAA, DMHA, reputable brands. And I'll be quite frank with you. If you have a contract manufacturer that will knowingly be okay making a product DMAA, DMHA, or even a Radrentis, like it's kind of iffy, not so much. But those two, I don't trust that contract manufacturer at all because you're not allowed to use it. If the contract manufacturer is okay with using a product or making an ingredient that's not allowed to use, I don't fucking trust them because God knows what else they're putting in their product because, okay, that's not going to be an FDA certified facility, GMP, so on and so forth. They're using illegal substances that are not banned by the FDA. That's a huge red flag. So in that case right there, I wouldn't trust the co-man. Even if they're putting in the real stuff or quote unquote, or be making this product, what are they cutting corners with? What are they spiking it with? Or if they're not using that because, okay, we don't want to get caught, with actually having a building, okay, what are you putting in the product that's not on the label? So there's a couple things that I don't trust when it comes to that. In terms of these smaller brands, you don't really see them widespread in terms of being online because it draws attention to it. Like you said, it's a lot of local retailers, under the radar type places, that has it locally kind of on the shelf, whatever, but you can't find it anywhere, online because it draws attention to it. People GMAA, that's where we're going to get popped. So it sucks. These small co-mans, kind of fly-by-night people make these things, local stores, spike it with whatever garbage there is, proprietary blend, it sucks. As for companies that do proprietary blends, I know one person that talks to great length about this and as an advocate, and I could see it, I guess, from his perspective of it. James Bacuzzi, he does a lot of different things. Boca James, in terms of like proprietary blends, he's a proponent of it. It's like, bro, protect your fucking shit. Like, Drew, like, bro, you make some cool shit. Blend that. I'm like, bro, at the end of the day, I'm a little bit cocky with this. I'm like, you know what? If somebody wants to copy me, I don't really care because I made it first and I'll make something different and better. I don't give a fuck. And the thing is, I made something really cool. I'm okay with that. And the thing is always evolving and evolution there once again and finding something different pathway. And I know I ran this by Robert a few months ago and did a regular podcast. And last week with Shane, I said the same thing. My take on things is that even though there's been some evolution, has kind of had a lot of brands expanding and people using things, but also the walls on what you're allowed to use and not to use in terms of the space has kind of the same time happened at the same time. So everybody's kind of using the same type of things. A lot of people are like using a lot of these mainstream ingredients because like a lot of the stimulants, exotic things have been taken off the shelf. You can't use them anymore. For my MO on type of things like this, and Shane laughed pretty hard this last week. I'm like, Shane, ask me what Venom does. What does my pre-workout do? Right? Go ahead. You get the honors.
So what am I asking again?
Yeah.
Wake up, Shane.
Drew, what does your pre-workout Venom do? No, I asked this before. I didn't think I was going to ask
it. It's happening. So, Venom, it's a high-intensity pre-workout that helps with enhanced energy, focus, training, endurance, and, of course, with calorie burning and pumps. Now, Drew, ask me, what does my competition's pre-workout do?
Hey, Drew, what does your competition's pre-workout do?
Give me a straight face here. Well, you see, their pre-workout helps in the energy, focus, training, endurance, pumps, and some of the enhanced calorie burning. It's the same fucking thing, right? But the key is that I like taking a different approach. Like, okay, everybody's trying to reinvent the wheel. However, you want to do the same thing pre-workout, but I believe there's different and more efficient and more novel and scientific and more thorough and efficient pathways for achieving the same thing. At the end of the day, pre-workout, people take it because they want enhanced energy, they want enhanced focus, they want pumps, right? So are you going to be another fucking copy and paste everybody 8 grams of citrulline, malate. Bullshit. From fucking Sapani that everybody's putting in 8 grams of that shit in their pre-workout. Or how about we look with some more readily available, has cool data like nitrogen at 1.5 grams, 1.5 grams of nitrogen, third-party study against 8 grams citrulline malate. It matches, not outperforms, plus it has longer-lasting pumps, enhanced benefits for renal markers and cognition. Nitrogen's a pretty cool fucking ingredient. So why is everybody using citrulline? Because it's the buzzword. And at previous brands, I've had to battle that. We're like, oh, we need citrulline. I'm like, why do you need citrulline? Now, look at me dead in the eye and explain to me. Do you really, truly like citrulline that much? Or are you liking that citrulline because somebody told you it's good? And nobody can answer me that question. I'm like, do your research, man. This is what we're doing. You're like, oh, well, here's the data. Here's the fucking data. It's right in front of you. I bulleted pointed for you. So that's my point is like, everybody tries, they want to match what everybody else is doing to like not look like they have holes, but I'm not afraid to do things differently. I purposely don't use citrulline in my products because I think there's better ways of going about that. Nitrogen being one of them, for example, and that's another case in point. I'm getting a little off the wagon here, but you always see trends and things like that. For a while there, everybody was using the things like argon and AKG. That kind of died. The next thing you see, everybody's using agmatine. When's the last time you guys saw a product that had agmatine in it? That stuff disappeared overnight, right? And now everybody's using citrulline. So it's interesting how you see things kind of evolve and kind of trend in terms of formulation. But back to your point, with proprietary blends, you don't see a lot of it these days. And quite frankly, like I don't like back when there was like exotic stimulants, DMAA, DMHA, things like that. Okay, we're gonna pixie dust, or that's not the word. We're gonna proprietary blend this exotic blend of stimulants and tie it together. But okay, when you were left with like caffeine and dynamine and teacrine, so on and so forth, like okay, like what are you really hiding? There's no point in blending it because people are gonna figure that shit out. So that's kind of my point. A lot of the stuff that people hadn't heard of, you can't really use it anymore. So there's no point in blending it. Does that make sense? Like, so that's why you don't see a lot of it, except when I think somebody's up to something sketchy or shady. And then a lot of times us relatively smart consumer can figure that shit out. If you see like a 5 gram blend and it has like beta alanine and creatine and caffeine, like, okay, either A, everything in here is underdosed, or it's like all of one ingredient and hardly anything of anything else. It's like process elimination, but I digress.
Oh, here, that'll lead into this next question we just got from Aaron Chadwick. What's the bigger problem? Questionable ingredients in supplements or underdosing?
I'd say these days it's underdosing. That's just my gut reaction here, because a lot of times questionable ingredients, like a lot of people won't touch them because, there's so much that's not been taken off the table. I think the wall is going to close in. There are some cool things being found here and there, but it's, the resounding answer here is a lot of times some of these new things aren't worth the risk versus reward, because they get popped by the FDA, they become a hot item, they get drawn on the radar. I see the only thing I see some newer stuff, or even some things that I'm kind of done, like with, say, the new version of the Femotrope or relaunching the Hydra. There's some different extracts like that have some cool data. Then I wouldn't use questionable that's like less heard of, and they look at some of the studies. Oh, that's pretty cool. Underdosing, I'd say, is a bigger culprit because a lot of people are driven by cost of goods in the product. I'd say the underdosing is the issue. That's my take.
Yeah, I guess so. Let's get everybody else's opinion on that too. Robbie, Lucas, Shane.
I think that the questionable ingredients can go either way. So I actually do agree with Drew to an extent, because questionable ingredients, that means they're questionable. That means that there is a 50-50 chance that some of them might work, some of them might not work. The problem is with questionable ingredients is that today that a lot of brands are presenting something like trademarked ingredients. I mean, to trademark something is extremely simple, so I see on the front of a lot of companies' labels, especially transparent labels, for some reason, they don't necessarily brag about the fact that they're transparent. Especially if you're transparent, I think you're in serious danger. Why? Because now we can see how much of each ingredient you're putting in your product. So we can easily see whether it's well dosed or underdosed. Because let's face it, the transparent ingredient, the transparent label is for those that can read the labels. Because let's face it, I saw something yesterday that Robert, you and I talked about, where Matt Week posted about what would anyone recommend, what other protein he would recommend, somebody would recommend to him. So I saw, and when I saw that somebody threw into the mix our protein, I was pretty happy. I mean, that was Lukasz and Eric, and I appreciate it. The reason why I didn't comment anything, because I feel like when it comes from me, it's a little bit, it's not a little bit, it's definitely biased. For me to throw my own product, oh, look, you know what? My product is delicious. Like, I can easily, just like Drew can, we can easily present why our pre-workouts or certain formulations are better maybe than others, or so to speak, because we can actually talk about it. We're not hiding what we're putting in a product. So we're presenting it like, well, here you have that much this ingredient, that much that. We're not hiding. We are pretty much on display. And just like Drew, I don't give a fuck if somebody copies me. I'm actually flattered if somebody copies me. Please go ahead. I'm going to use it against you. I'm going to go like that fucker just fucking copied me because I'm the shit. So go ahead. I don't give a shit. But when it's like something, you know, about protein. So yesterday with the best tasting protein and bullshit like that, I think, Drew, you saw that, right?
I remember commenting. I've actually replied to one person that I knew. I need to get some isoform in your life. That's all I said. But
you know, but the funny thing is, like, if you read that, it was very, very interesting. A lot of people that were commenting and posting were actually in some way affiliated with the brand that they were, you know, saying that it's the best. My thing was especially about protein, and you know, putting out a good quality protein. Nobody talks about it. Everybody talks about pre-workouts. Nobody fucking discusses that 90% of protein on the market is absolute dog shit that tastes good. It tastes good, but it's crap. So I see like people that are affiliated with products saying, oh, this product is the best tasting protein on the market and it's top quality. Well, number one, best tasting is super subjective.
Yep, exactly.
Number two, how the fuck do you know it's super quality or good quality? Because I looked at the label and I think it was, I don't know, fuck it, I'll say it, First Form. How the fuck do you know quality of protein on First Form? How the fuck do you know quality of First Form? I looked at the label, and Robert and Drew are experts in the field. Can you fucking tell me it's top quality? It might be. I couldn't find that it's top quality because I didn't see shit on a label that would indicate that it's top quality. I mean, it says great tasting and shit like that, but what the fuck? You know? And you're a fucking ambassador for the company, and you're saying it's the best fucking quality. What the fuck? You're a nobody. You less than nobody. The owner of the company probably even doesn't know that you fucking exist. All of a sudden, you're saying that it's top quality. You know, so I think that...
Damn, dude.
Go. It's like these motherfuckers that get
screwed. It's true. It's true. It's 100% true, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. So the thing is like when it comes to questionable ingredients, which that protein might actually have, you know, that's an issue. S7, it's a questionable still ingredient, you know, we got, but some people like it, some people don't like it, you know, it's still subjective. And then you have a couple of trademark ingredients that everybody's like, oh, this has a TM on it. It must be good. Says who? Says who? It's still a questionable ingredient. I haven't seen like numerous studies about it or anything like that. And underdosing is very, very easy to spot. I mean, it's easy to spot because I think the main problem is actually coming across and explaining to a consumer what an underdosing product is. I mean, there is a supplement that has pre-workout that has 1 gram. I mean it, 1 gram of citrulline in it. It's a transparent pre-workout. It has 1 gram of citrulline. What the fuck is 1 gram of citrulline going to do? Yet the owner of the company went publicly and defended it. He defended it that actually it provides benefits. We all know it doesn't. So underdosing is an issue. It's easy to prove. As long as there are consumers, and I mean, granted how certain companies like, you know, Dragon Pharma are doing, that are definitely, you know, they gaining popularity and they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think that's a good indication that we do have a market. We have people that actually read the labels or at least listen to what we have to say. That, you know, 1 gram of citrulline not going to do shit for you. But that's, I think, the main thing. The problem is between underdosing the product and questionable ingredient is all comes down to education.
I like that, and I'll give one quick thought on this because I could go down the rabbit hole for hours on this shit. So that's a very good point. And sometimes, like, say a trademarked ingredient, sometimes it may be an ingredient that's like, depending on questionable. There are certain things, like I think the one I have no fucking clue how this came about, why it's magical. Amphiberry is one thing. I'm like, what is this? I know you guys have all heard of this. So, like, right? Like, okay.
But have you noticed everybody who puts that ingredient in a pre-workout says there is scientific data. I couldn't find it.
Isn't that juniper berry or something?
However, there is I like one thing. Is like one thing I do like about branded or trademarked ingredients is necessarily like if it's a branded version, say chloroburn GP is a branded version of Aframo Malagueta. I like that one because I like the consistency of the material I get, and I know where it comes from. I like it because of that. Or say something that is truly unique, like nitroxygen, for example, is another one I like as a branded ingredient that has data behind it. But if it's like some made up fucking stimulant called Ampaberry or whatever, I'm like, okay. But if it's somewhere like I typically stick to branded things from larger companies that I know and that I've worked with, and I see the studies. I'm okay, this is cool, and they're very thorough. Like say Compound Solutions, Dynamine, Tia Cream. There's a lot of good stuff there. They have GRAS status that's been thoroughly done. You know what I mean? Versus some things like okay, where we have a brand. Oh fuck, that's gonna bug me. I can't remember what it was. I saw something else like we have a, or there's some. Fuck, I'm gonna move on because I can't remember what it was. I'm like okay, like. Nobody's heard of this. So you're making something up here. Ampaberry is probably the best example I have off the top of my head. And in certain times, like people get carried away. They're worried about branded ingredients when you don't have to be because, it's great, but who's a fuck? Like Carnazin, I'm not paying $30 for beta alanine. It's the same shit. So people, I think that a lot of times when you pay for things like say Carnazin, you're paying for the right to use the study data that Carnazin paid for. That's the whole thing. There's different beta alanine. So if you want to brand it, you want to use beta alanine, I use generic, that's fine. But the thing is, if you want to make specific claims about beta alanine, so on and so forth, you have to be really careful. Okay, what is directly linked to Carnazin and you're not using a branded version? Okay, that's intellectual infringement, in terms of the rights to use that because that's Carnazin, you're not using a branded version, therefore you can't use this marketing claims. So sometimes that's kind of the thing. Otherwise, if you feeling warm and fuzzy and like we use Carnazin, beta alanine, the very best one, so on and so forth. That's the reason a lot of people use it for things like that, like for purity or for the right to use that study data. Same thing like say capsaicin. That's why some people use the absurdly priced Capsamax, right? You can use regular red pepper capsaicin extract, but Capsamax you're paying for the study data. Same thing Bioperin versus regular black pepper extract. Do you want to use those claims or not? Most people don't even know what it is, what it does. It enhances bioavailability. Leave it at that, but don't get specific. It enhances bioavailability by 25.6%, whatever it is. Don't make the specific claims. That's why you're paying for that brand ingredient. You want to pay $600 a kilo or $225, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
beta power is another one, like regular betaine versus beta power. I'm thinking nobody I don't even know how many studies have actually used beta power at all. Everything is just using generic betaine.
Yep, exactly. That's the whole point. Or like Agamax. Like certain times, like that one, I argue like it does matter for how it is processed. Some like agmatine, like if it's not processed correctly, there's different things. It can actually become a neurotoxin in terms of how it's processed. So sometimes it does matter for what the source is, and you want the pure version of it. So same thing with like some of the plant proteins. That's an emerging issue too. Like some cheap shit that came from God knows where. They may have some heavy metal contamination, random shit thrown in. That's a concern. Versus okay, it's from the patented version. It's from a certain source. They do it the right way. I can appreciate that. Back to Rubik here in terms of the protein. It's exactly right. And it's like, okay, one, I stay out of those because guaranteed, and I don't care calling them out directly. And I have mad respect for what they've done with their brand in terms of the size of it. Redcon, for fuck's sake, bro. Nobody gives a fuck that you're an operator. I don't need to see your coupon code. Total War is the best thing ever. Use my code. I'm like, cool, bro. It's not, but hey, if you like it, great. But bro, like, that's your opinion. That's like, what moves it from? It's like your opinion, man. Like, great. There's tons of our pre-workouts out there. I don't think it's the best by any way, shape, or form. If you like it, great, but it's just fucking spam to me. I stay out of those conversations. I'm like, hey, sometimes if it's somebody I'll know, I'll chime in and say, hey, I'll check Venom and Veins. I may know the guy that works there that makes the stuff, It's good. I recommend it because I use it. I made it. Of course, I'm going to think it's one of the best ones. Do I think it's like the absolute best? No, not because I don't believe that, because different people want different things. It's not a one size fits all. Some people are going to want like, I really, to me, a pre-workout needs to have 5 grams of creatine, 5 grams of BCAAs, 2.5 grams of betaine anhydrous, 100 milligrams of caffeine. It's subjective, different strokes, different folks. So there's not necessarily like Justin Hall, Supplements Tube infamously says, there is no best, right? To your point of the protein, exactly. How the fuck would you know? Are you just going by Andy Frisella says on his MFCEO podcast? I like to think he's a good guy. I like to think he does things the right way and makes a pure product. But have you seen the C of A's? Have you been in the facility and watched some blend shit? No. You can go to labels. Okay, 100% whey protein isolate. Okay, I'm gonna take your word for it, right? So it's scary that like there's no way of really knowing. So I mean, with the brand, obviously even then they could be lying. I'm not gonna call them out, but I don't even remember the name of this fucking product, but I remember getting this like 10-minute long spiel about their proteins. Like, oh, it's made from a certain place. They import it from Italy, and it's from the dairy. It's luxurious. It tastes delicious. I'm like, motherfucker, I know who you buy your protein from. It's like Glanbia. What are you talking about? Shut up.
All about the story. They're all trying to craft it in this beautiful narrative that makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. So
I
buy
went
their
to
overpriced.
myself and handpicked the fucking Afro Melagueta for Venom.
Here we go. We got another one here from the Review Bros out in the UK. Have you seen much regarding the Australian TGA laws regarding sports supplements, and do you think the rest of the world will follow suit? So, Shane, before we let Drew give an answer, give us a brief recap since you had an expert in the field on this on your podcast.
Oh yeah, so basically, it's just a stricter version of kind of what the guidelines were previously, where you have to sort of follow their labeling laws, which, as I mentioned, I think we mentioned this last week, where it's like a food supplement facts panel. I sent Drew the same thing, and like there's a brand out there that does it really well, and yeah, you just got to list the macros and then there's certain ingredients, and the country was always limited. Well, not necessarily, but it was limited to these ingredients. Now they're kind of enforcing it, where it's got the ingredient has to have been in the food supply in Australia, like has to already be before they can use it. So it has to be in a food that's, I guess, in circulation in Australia, and then they can put it in supplements. Can't have anything from the banned substance list, the wider banned substance list, which, as far as I know, wasn't always the case. And then there's the rule of the stimulant thing, which I think mentioned last week as well, where it's like the PEA thing, where any kind of PEA-linked stim isn't necessarily allowed, which they had Dynamine before, and that was kind of been roped into it. So these rules weren't necessarily, they announced them last year. They were like, this is what we potentially will do. Now that no one believed it, I didn't believe it. And so they've basically, like I said, they had a food category, a medicines category, and then they had dietary supplements in between. And that was just a loose gray thing that they could do. Now they've just been like, fuck supplements. You have to restrict yourself to food or medicine. We're not going to deal with this. It was something related because it was around a kid who died. Something to do with too much. He had like a pure caffeine powder or something.
Because he thought it was creatine. He thought it was creatine, so he took like a full scoop, and then he saw it was caffeine. So
shit.
Yeah, because they introduced that rule originally. That was what they introduced first, was that 5% rule. They basically blanketed no more pure caffeine powder. Then they said caffeine has to make up at least 5% of the scoop. But I do not see that going anywhere outside of Australia. I don't think that's going to be something that you'll see. If America did it, maybe. Everyone follows what they do. No one really follows what the little countries do.
Yeah, I highly doubt it's going to make its way the rest of the world. I'm not speaking for the rest of the world. I'm just saying, at least in the States, like it's kind of the Wild West to a degree. We have the most flexibility here in our supplements, thankfully. That's a great thing for me. But then you're going to, even like, it's such a pain in the ass. Australia, like, is like a whole nother planet in terms of what they allow and disallow. You're taking all these things that are useful, beneficial, have really cool data on it. You can't even sell things in capsules there. It's considered a drug. So you're telling me that I can't sell like turmeric, which is from a plant, in the capsule. I have to sell in the powder. It feels like garbage. Like, come on, man. Europe is, the walls are closing in a little bit in terms of some of the stuff you can use. They're a little more picky. Like, oh, you can't use like novel ingredients, like grains of paradise, for example. It's not allowed. You can't use dynamine. You can't use teacrine. That's from a tea leaf called the kucha leaf. You can't use certain things. I'm okay with the WADA list. Okay, if it's synthetic substance like a stimulant, okay, I could see that because it's to a degree. There's a lot of safety data on it. It probably never will be because people aren't going to pay to do those research studies. That's why there's no advancement in the world of anabolics. You know, it's not efficacy, or I guess what's the word I'm looking for? In studies, I guess the morality standpoint to like, okay, what happens when you give somebody a gram of testosterone a week for 5 years? You know, right? Yeah. It's for the ethics of it. They won't allow these type of studies to happen. So, you know, let's put the synthetic amphetamine in somebody's body at a high dose and see what happens, right? It's ethics of it. So it's okay if that's something that I can see. But in terms of states, I don't think it's going to happen. Reasonable things, I think, are fine. Stuff I've seen get banned for no reason, which are really stupid, like GABA is like an iffy ingredient. Phenibut got chopped, or overnight Picotropin got clipped. I'm like, really? Okay, yeah, they have bigger things to worry about. Like, leave us alone. But I don't think the world will follow suit, at least in the United States.
Yeah, I think one of the big issues I have is like when the FDA tries to go and backdoor ban an ingredient, they don't have grounds to actually do it, but they put it on their advisory list. And because of all of that, you got people like PayPal, Shopify, Amazon just start booting products that have things like laxagenin or hordenine, hygenamine, stuff that could have really good benefit. I think laxagenin's a dog shit ingredient, but stuff like hordenine and hygenamine, I think, have utility as far as like enhancing the pop or improving exercise performance to a certain degree, especially from like the bronchodilatory enhancement effects of hygenamine. I think that could definitely help. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
I thought the advisory list was funny. Like I thought it was quite like, because everyone always says, oh, they can't just come out and ban stuff. Oh, they can't go after everyone one by one. So they put out this list that doesn't necessarily ban things, but it says that they don't think it's potentially legal. And like all it is them putting an ingredient on a site with a description and other names, and now they're getting. I mean, I like a lot of the ingredients, or some of the ingredients on there, but I think the approach that they took on that is really smart. Because to your point, they put anything on there, and then it's off Amazon, PayPal, and they don't have to do any work outside of just putting it on that little list. Which I think it's smart.
Podcast, you're giving them more ammunition to have. That's a good idea. Let's put everything on there. Then nobody will buy it. They're going to make it if people can't buy it. But that's a pain in the ass. Like, oh, great. Can't sell the product.
It is a smart idea when you think about it. Like they've just done what they previously did with just a little name on a site. Instead of sending out warning letters, they can just be like, "Hey guys, retailers, just check this list. We don't think this is okay." And they haven't been crazy with it.
Yeah.
They haven't added to it since like November, October of last year.
Yep.
Still got the same 10 on there. So it's they haven't gone loose. They haven't taken anything off, even though they said some things may come and go. So nothing's been removed.
I think it's on the onus is on them. So if they're going to have the authority, self-imposed authority, to put something on that list, then they should front the dollars to go and actually research the ingredients in healthy human subjects at a reasonable dose and see what happens with it. So
that's the thing, though,
it can't be unfounded. You need to give me some kind of data or have some kind of reason for it.
They're not saying that it's actually wrong. They're saying they're looking into it as questionable. That's all they're saying. They don't say that they have looked into it. They don't say that they just say this is potentially. They don't probably even looked at it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's just going to stay out there in like this purgatory, and we're never going to hear about it or see these ingredients again. There should be like a moral compulsion that they should go and start researching these ingredients if they're going to just take the right on themselves, say, hey, well, we don't know about this ingredient, so we're just going to put it on this arbitrary list. You know, put up or shut up, start researching the ingredient yourselves and do something useful.
I feel like they probably just because they see those guys, the smaller brands you guys were mentioning, that come out with DMAA, Ephedra, and DMHA, and then they're like, well, this is the least we can do. Eat shit. I feel like they can't win either way, because you'll have guys that come around with that stuff, and the least they can do is be like, well, you know what? Take this. There's a little shot, but whatever. We'll do what we can.
Yep.
I'll backtrack just 1 second, then we can move on. I guess some of the shit that has been banned, like actually banned, like DMAA, ephedra, it just fucking annoys me to death. Like some dildo that's 50 pounds overweight, 98-degree heat in a training camp with a heart condition, takes ephedra and fucking dies. And now you ruined it for everybody. Thanks, asshole. You know, like, really, that's the whole basis for banning ingredients potentially dangerous. Not that they had a heart condition, or he's overweight, or he's dehydrated, or he's 98 degrees. Like, you don't think that played a factor? Oh, it's ephedra. Or same thing happened with DMA. I know some asshole took like 3 scoops of Jack with a heart. Like, I think he had a heart condition. Was exercising in like boot camp or something. Like, bro, what the fuck do you think's gonna happen? You know, certain things I do think should be like banned. Okay, like, well, it's on the person to know better. But like pure caffeine powder, that shit's spooky, man. Even in the lab, I'm very comfortable with that because it's really easy. It's very, very potent to take too much because. Most I'll take a little bit, and like the little bit's like 2 grams of it, and they just chuck it back. Like, because they have no idea what relative, like how to actually weigh it out. Like I guarantee most people don't have like a little, you know.
Yeah, the microdose and scale.
Yeah, so I guess like that does common sense because people are stupid. But at the end of the day, it's your responsibility, you know.
Agreed, 100%, man. Earlier, but like when we talked the first time, Drew, you were getting ready. You were prepping the formulas for the general health line. Now that we've seen several of those releases. How has that gone over? And that's I would say it's a pretty ballsy move, just to go from like a brand that might be more slanted in the hardcore area to start doing like a more general health line. How did that how has it been received thus far? Kind of like walk us through the thought process of wanting to do that kind of a line. And do you expect more brands do you see more of these more sports nutrition brands starting to make more general health products going forward?
I think that we're going to see maybe some other brands attempt it, or at least do some half-assed bullshit attempt, like, oh, let's make a joint support, let's make an immune product, especially the immune thing, because of COVID, everybody and their mother started making an immune product and selling vitamin C. With that being said, I think it's gone over very well in terms of sales. Huge demand for it, even internationally. A lot of people have been wanting to pick it up. We're out of stock on a lot of items, and we've had to reorder multiple times, which is great. People have taken an akin to it. And I really don't think, once again, ballsy cool. I appreciate that you don't think it was a big leap, but to me, it just makes sense. I'm somebody that would consider myself a very hardcore athlete. I compete in bodybuilding competitively, and a lot of people that I know also do so. The thought process behind this was like, in competition prep or even as a daily thing. I'm considered one of the more hardcore people. This is obviously a brand that I live in. I breathe it. This is my daily life. So it's something I'm very involved in. Same thing with most people that work at the brands I've worked at. They live the lifestyle. And that's why a lot of people don't think of, a hardcore brand coming up with things like, say, a joint support, immune system support, so on and so forth. Yeah. But what kind of piqued my interest in this was a few years ago, it was like 4 or 5 weeks out from a competition, you get some blood work done. I'm like, damn, I am not healthy. Your liver enzymes are a little out of whack, your cholesterol is maybe a little out of whack, so on and so forth. And, some people start with blood pressure. I'm like, you know what? Then for example, for like, okay, I need some liver support, a joint support, cardiovascular. Then you look around, and this is about 4 years ago when I had this idea. So I'm kind of annoyed that nobody let me do it before, because Revive came out and they've been doing a great job. So props to them. But I was looking around. I'm like, you know what? I need these things. Look what's available. There's like brands like Now or Nature's Best or some of these. And you look at these bullshit formulas like, wow, this is really what's all available for cardiovascular support. Like the ingredients are that's underdosed. Or you see like a liver support, like, wow, milk thistle, that's great. I want some fucking Tudka. Or a joint support, like the ones that the sports nutrition brands offered weren't that great. But then you see this really good one over here. I'm like, okay, they're not in our space. But I found myself buying things from other brands because nobody in our space made it the way that I felt they should do it. So I was like, you know what? I can make these better than these like brands that focus on vitamins and general health things. So my thought was, okay, at the end of the day, you can compete for a lot of years, but at the end of the day, if you're not healthy, if your heart isn't functioning correctly, your joints are garbage, your liver enzymes are out of whack, your cholesterol's out of whack, you're not healthy as a human. Before you're a competitor, before you're a champion, you are human. That's kind of the branding we came up with for the human first, for our brand, and for the daily RX, the things you need on a daily basis to maintain optimal performance. Because ideally, no matter what you may look like on the outside, if the inside isn't optimal, you're not going to perform your best. Your physique isn't going to transform the best, and you're not going to be the best version of you. So that's kind of where this idea came from. Like starting with things like, okay, we need a really good liver support. We really need a good cardiovascular support for people with blood pressure issues. A lot of people have issues with that. In competition prep, we're using supplements, quote unquote, and different aspects of that. I'm like, you know what? Why don't we make a whole line of this? We could do some really cool things: joints, immune system, cardiovascular, liver, lipid, renal, all the systems of the body, the vital systems that get taxed by living an intense lifestyle, so that can be hard on the body. But also, damn, that's a great idea because we can capture some customer base outside of our space. I'm not looking to go into Whole Foods. I'm not looking to grab, somebody that may not like, so the Whole Foods customer, I say, is like, everything's natural, and we sit in a circle and say kumbaya and spend our whole paycheck on organic fucking apples, handpicked by a peasant in the countryside, But the idea behind that is like, okay, if they want a really good joint support, it's casual enough where like, okay, this looks approachable. It's not fucking scary with a giant spider on it saying venom. But at the end of the day, they're attracted to the brand. You may capture that as a consumer, but it may loop somebody in from another brand that uses a hardcore thing. Like, hey, this joint support is really good looking. Oh, I'm gonna look at their pre-workout too. Damn, they have really good protein. Fuck, I like this brand, right? It captures them. At the same time, it's going to keep that customer like myself that likes Dragon Pharma in the brand because we offer them that product, the joints, the liver, the cardio. It's like solid dosing, research backed. It's everything's on the panel. And that's how I formulate everything. If I'm not comfortable with the dosage and I can't justify why I put it in the product, I don't use the ingredient. I'd rather use less things at a better dose with a good story than like, oh, we just threw it in there just because. I hate doing that. So that was kind of the premise on how we approach that. Do I think other brands will do this? I'm thinking so, but yeah, who knows? Don't really care. I'm focused on my lane.
There you go. Following up on that, enumerate a little bit more on the joint formula and the approach you took towards it.
Okay, I like this guy. He's asking a lot of good questions here. So the Joints RX is actually, in a way, the stack that I'd recommend people take anyway for overall joint support. I'm a huge proponent of using curcumin. So it has BCM 95 at 500 milligrams, which is one of the best overall ingredients, in my opinion, taken on a daily basis. Helps reduce systemic inflammation, both in joints as well as digestive system, cardiovascular inflammation. It's just a great ingredient. Curcumin is an awesome one. BCM 95 is a brand new version of that, high quality, high purity, and it's dosed correctly. There's a fruit XB, which is calcium fructoborate, which is a really cool ingredient in terms of a fruit saccharide as well as boron. It has really cool clinical data in terms of helping reduce osteoarthritis and joint mobility. Clinical dose 260 milligrams. That's another ingredient we include there. It has the full dose of UC2 collagen, which is the one that's extracted from chicken sternum. It has really cool data in terms of helping support cartilage health as well as joint mobility. And it's got estrogen for enhancing the absorption of everything in there. One ingredient that I'm back and forth with is boswellia. I do like the ingredient, like say Apis Flex is the brand new version of that, but it kind of works with some of the same pathways as some of the stuff we already had in there, so I thought it was kind of repetitive. So that's why I kind of stuck with, hey, this is what we have in here, the BCM 95, the calcium fructoborate, fruit XB, and the UC2 collagen. So that's the approach we took there. It has inflammation control, joint support mitigation, cartilage support, healthy blood supply to the ligaments and tendons of the body, and enhanced absorption. That's the route we took. Glucosamine chondroitin, and a lot of people throw it in there. It's one of those buzzwords. It's very common in the joint space. I don't really like the data on it. I think it's overplayed. It's a potential allergen for people that have shellfish allergies, so it's a pain in the ass. And the data I've seen is subjective. Like, oh, it helps improve joint mobility and reduces pain. I'm like, okay, one, it's in an elderly population that doesn't apply to athletes. And two, like, what is subjective? Like, oh, it reduced knee pain anecdotally by 10%? It's like, okay, what does that mean in the real world? You know what I mean? So I think it's an overrated ingredient. I can't stand the shit. So that's why I don't use it. It's not your grandma's joint support.
Are you worried that it doesn't have fat burners need to have certain ingredients, not needs to, but within the social consciousness, there are certain ingredients that products kind of quote unquote need to have to like register with the consumer that, hey, I've heard this word on Dr. Oz or some other bullshit or some like Women's Day magazine or some shit. Is there any concern in the back of your mind as a formulator that, hey, if I don't include glucosamine and chondroitin in here or MSM or something like that, maybe it's not going to jump out to the consumer. They'll think my product is substandard or missing something because it doesn't have those buzz ingredients or those buzzword ingredients. Quite
frankly, no. And honestly, I'd have to worry about that with my entire product line. My pre-workouts don't have citrulline. My joint support doesn't have glucosamine chondroitin. So I'm not so much worried about that. I'm more worried about doing things differently. That goes back to the whole memo. I think there's more efficient, more beneficial ways to create products. And that is joint support is a prime example of that. I'm not going in line with the glucosamine chondroitin or MSM route because I think there's more efficient, better ingredients out there. Then that's also my job at the end of the day to convey that in the branding, the material put out, the discussions we have, going out and having podcasts like this to get the good word out. And I'm like, hey, just try the product. If you don't like it, at least you tried it, but I think you're really going to like it. It's easy. It's bioavailable. And if you want to read up on it, check our website. Just talk to me. We have tons of data on it. I think you'll like the product. And this goes beyond just joint support. Benefits reducing inflammation. Chronic inflammation is one of the biggest issues people have on a daily health basis. So I get where you're coming from. It's like tempting to put in stuff for SEO optimization. Oh, citrulline, glucosamine, get people to look at it just because of that. But then that goes back to somebody may buy a garbage product just because it's glucosamine. I fucking hate that. You look at it and like, wow, glucosamine, that's original. Like, okay. And then this just sucks though. Cause I'm like, how does this shit sell so much? I don't understand,
Right. Yeah, it's well put. Circling back to the citrulline, and I want to go back to nitrosogene because this is something I'm curious about from a brand point of view. Okay, so we know like on a one-to-one basis that citrulline is probably going to be cheaper than nitrosogene. So like the 6 grams of regular L-citrulline or 8 grams of citrulline malate is probably going to be cheaper on an ingredient basis, on a per gram basis than nitrosogene. But with that, when you go to ship the product, you're shipping more weight. So does the cost difference that you're saving in using less weight of a material for nitrosogene kind of wash out the savings you would have by using a cheaper ingredient in citrulline? You don't have to get into your exact cost of goods on stuff. I don't want you to give away any kind of like proprietary stuff or anything like that. But is it about even? I'm curious. Like, does it work out that way, or is it how?
I'll say it works out about that way, and there's more than one thought process in this. One, you hit the nail on the head there. Well, two actually. One is the shipping weight itself of the ingredient, which one is kind of nice. People like feeling warm and fuzzy when they get a container of pre-workout and like, oh my God, it's filled to the brim because you have 6 grams of ingredient per scoop. It takes up more tub space. So that's one only complaint I really had for the Venom is they get the tub like, oh, there's not as much powder as I expected. I'm like, and even then people go to review the product. They look at it like, oh, there's only 8 grams in a big scoop. Oh, it has to be underdosed. Then they do a breakdown and they analyze it. Like happened on YouTube. Visible. I can't remember the channel. The guy, okay, so there's like 7.9 grams here. Okay. And he rose the ingredients. Like, okay, well, actually, this is very well dosed. Okay. Like he's like shocked because he didn't look at through the panel. He just saw the number, right?
Yeah.
So to your point, is one, it can level out because the same thing kind of you comparing, let's say, WPC 80, WPC 90, it takes less material. But the thing is, too, is like, okay, you're using 1.5 grams of something compared to 6 to 8 grams of something. So even if something is half the cost, you're using over twice as much material. So it's going to level out in that aspect. So it takes less material to get the efficacious amount. So that's one. So at the end of the day, I also get some of the best nitrogen pricing in the country. I work closely with Nutrition 21. I really like nitrogen. I promoted it because I use it in my products. It works really well. I'm a big believer in that ingredient. You also get a lot of bang for your buck. Sometimes I'll see an ingredient that like, oh, that's cool. But then like, okay, is the average person going to care? Is it something you're going to feel? Is it something the person's going to want? Okay, I can't justify using that. I feel like I can use something else that people are going to feel or like better that achieves a really cool common goal in the product. You know what I mean? Nitrogen I feel is worth the cost. Also, key in there, it takes 1.5 grams compared to 6 to 8 grams to get the full dose. You're saving money because even if the cost difference, it uses less material. You have the shipping cost there. So yes, exactly. In the other part too, I get a lot more benefit, in my opinion. Aside from the vasodilation, the cognition effects, the renal markers for overall health, I can market it better. There's a lot to it. So to answer your question, I think it does wash out and may actually be a better, more cost-effective route. A lot of people get sticker shock by the kilo, but then when you look at how much you actually need, that's a big factor as well.
Right. And one more thing I want to go on this. Do you think there could be an additive benefit to actually stacking the two of them together? So, nitrosamine is going to be mostly through improving nitric oxide production, blood flow. The benefit to citrulline is that it's also got the ammonia buffering properties. Now, I don't know if they've actually been able to show that in nitrosamine or not. So do you think performance and overall, pumps and all that stuff could actually, and fatigue resistance could be better stacking maybe 3 grams of pure citrulline with, 1.5 grams of nitrosamine? So actually, some people would say it's redundant to stack the two of them together, but they always forget about the extra stuff that citrulline actually does in the body.
I've actually contemplated that on like a pure pump type product in the past for a brand I consulted for. And I do think anecdotally that could be a very good benefit in terms of having both. A lot of times I'd say one or the other because they do overlap. And I'd love to see one, you have a great point, they're non buffering, so on and so forth. Okay, that mouth's saying good, but like what does that translate to in the real world? What some people are going to notice to get an effect from, so on and so forth. Stuff looks shiny on paper. You touched on the S7, I think, Robic did there. I agree once again. I personally think that S7, for example, is a cool ingredient. Do I like it as a standalone? No. 230% nitric oxide sounds great, but in the real world, what does that mean? I think we're just going to complement. So back to the nitrogen and the citrulline thing. I think anecdotally, that could be a really cool story. I think that could be a really cool effect. And I think that's something I'd like to see some actual data on and get some feedback on, say, hey, does this really truly make sense to have together? Or is it just unnecessary? So I do like that idea, and I think that's great. And that goes as a complementary ingredient. I think they can complement each other in a very cool way. But once again, I have to see some data on that. I think that's something that'd be incredible to see. But all the stuff I've seen right now is head-to-head versus its synergy. Yeah. So
cool. Given the clusterfuck that 2020 has been on multiple fronts, have y'all released a ton of different products this year? What's it been like from has there been any challenges, material, like supply chain issues, troubles reaching the consumer? Have y'all had to pivot or anything like that in particular? Or has it been a pretty, was you surprised at how well the brand has done this year?
I'm very happy with how we've gotten things done, even in the face of adversity. The biggest challenge for a while there, some stuff slowed down because just nobody was buying a lot of product because all the gyms were closed. Like, people aren't training, they're not going to be using much product. Okay, so you're going to feel that sting there. In terms of supply chain, things are just slower because, some places had shutdowns, people had smaller shifts or different procedures put in place for making sure the facilities were clean, that they had to do more precaution. It slowed down supply chain production, so you feel it there. Then, of course, some of the things like capsules are very hard to come by because a lot of people are doing capsule products for immune system health, vitamin C, so on and so forth. So the demand is up in certain areas. I think everywhere across the board, supply chain, not just in the supplement industry, is feeling a pinch in terms of materials because either A, stuff is shut down, things have a lot more demand, and that. So the biggest issue has been slightly longer lead times, contract manufacturers being very loaded in terms of how much workload they have for everybody wants to make product for addressing certain issues. So that is something we've had to address, but we've been able to pivot. We've had to be very strategic in our planning, allow for extra time, but where there's a will, there's a way. And that is one of the challenges we had. So.
Okay. Perfect. If you guys got any other questions for Drew before I start picking from our listener submitted questions?
No, I asked all mine. Last week.
Lukasz, you got anything, buddy?
I'm okay. I'm just listening and catching up with everything. So yeah, Drew is on point.
Okay.
Where's my Nando's?
Yeah, we need to catch up, man.
For those of you that aren't aware of what Nando's is, this is magical chicken from the faraway land of the United Kingdom.
Actually, you're mistaken.
Oh,
yeah. Nando's was originated in South Africa.
Yeah.
Okay, I knew that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it was originated. The only reason why I know because I lived in South Africa when they started the company. It's still the best tasty chicken ever.
Yeah,
all right, I didn't know that because I've never been to South Africa. My first experience was in the UK, and hey, I don't have an estate to go ahead in the UK, so that's why my default's there. But no, you're right.
Yeah. It's I think they have it in UK. Do they have it in Australia and New Zealand?
Dude, it's all over the place here.
Yeah, because I know a lot of South African immigrated to over there. I think like years ago, but I think they have it in the United States also. I know in Washington and Maryland they have quite a few.
They started to expand, right?
I feel robbed. I don't have it where I am. We have Pollo Tropical.
There you go. All right, first rapid fire question. It's from Devin. I'll put it up here. You only get one carb source for the rest of your life. What do you choose?
Jasmine rice.
That's a good one. Now this could be super clean carb. This could be dirt. Like it could be French fries. It could be a baked potato. It could be oatmeal. It could be cupcakes. Whatever. You only get one carb source the rest of your life.
Sugar.
Right, so Drew saying
Jasmine rice.
Jasmine rice, which is fantastic. Shane, what are you doing?
Sugar.
Pure white sugar.
Look, man, if I only have one carb source for the rest of my life, something's gone fucking wrong, and I don't want to die on rice or oats. Okay, so I'm gonna just go out on sugar.
Lukasz.
I'm a big sweet potato fan, so I would go with sweet potatoes.
Robbie.
I wanted to pick potatoes, but I think I'm gonna go with jasmine rice. That's pretty good.
You guys are your fucking healthy sources. God damn it! The only one.
Let's fact that we can do many unhealthy things with jasmine rice. If you haven't had arroz con leche, have a Venezuelan wife. That shit's fantastic. You can make sushi into it. You can put any type of seasoning on it. Add some butter in that motherfucker. Put it in the crock pot. Jasmine rice is versatile and delicious, and brown rice is for peasants because that's an anti-nutrient. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Mine is going to be gummy bears because
sugar.
you need to have a fast digesting carb post workout. You need gummy bears, don't you, Drew?
Gummy bears. The wife does donuts. That's
Whoa! Hold on a second. I have an idea.
Rice is going to be my carb source, or sugar, so I can keep making my old fashions with my bourbon.
Since I consider Shane, a good friend of mine, I have a solution for something sweet. So I'm gonna have jasmine rice, but because we are friends, I can always ask my friend to ship me some sugar. So I'm gonna sprinkle some sugar over my jasmine rice, and I have a dessert.
I can make gummy bears.
Like raid your house because you have unauthorized carbs in your present. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna say you can only have jasmine rice and put yours on the advisory list, and that way it's not illegal.
All right, here's another one from the list of topics. Here we go.
Potatoes.
Retail supplements dead.
Didn't we have this?
I wouldn't say so. I mean,
we had this 2 weeks ago.
I would say it's wounded.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's dying. It's
it's on life support, something like that. It's definitely not what it used to be. But I don't know if I would say it's dead, but probably not in a very good situation right now.
Yeah, 100%. That's a better term. Especially
but I'm like an online guy. I like to buy shit and just have it show up in my door. I don't want to have to go out of my way to go buy something. I can find it online cheaper too. I don't have to go deal with people. Some dumb fuck at the store that's like, "What's up, bro? You want some good protein?" I'm like, "Yeah, what do you got for me?" Because then I turn into a dick and I'm like, "Oh, let me hear your spiel. Let me see how much you don't know, but go ahead." Anyway, carry on.
Yeah,
I like to be honest. I like the stores when you can just walk around, be you by your own. Just don't listen to anyone. Just don't feel or hear the brief of the guy that sells you the stuff, and just like walking around with you like a fucking ghost or something, and just like, oh, buy this, buy that. Nah, I hate that kind of shit, But when it comes to like the moms and shops stores, I love those kind of shops. So yeah, that's just me.
Gotcha. All right. We're going to one of our favorite local distilleries that we pretty much do every Saturday when we finish filming these. And today they're doing something called a sip and shop. So at the distillery, they're going to have a bunch of these little individual vendors out there. So if you want to go buy a cocktail and then you go and buy all this little knick-knack shit or whatever, they put a list of the vendors up on their website. And one of them is called Body Boot Camp. And it shows the person there like at the tent with like these tubs of protein powder. So I'm wondering, do I go and just like entertain them and see what kind of like bullshit they're going to try to sell me to get to buy their crappy like MLM supplements or not? Or do I just ignore it because I know it's just going to make me pissed off, or I'm just going to have to shoot them down when they tell me something?
I think you'd have
enjoy it, man.
Right, if you want a good one, as like I feel like a fucking alien there. One, I don't look like a Whole Foods customer. Two, like I'm from the sports nutrition side, but my stuff isn't even allowed in the fucking building. But Expo West in all places, California, Whole Foods Central, go to that shit and hear the bullshit those vendors try to tell you. Like, oh, it's keto certified. I'm like, keto certified? What does that mean? Is that a real thing? Like it's actually keto certified. And I can't remember what other certification I got. I was walking the expo with David Sandler, former boss, one of my dearest friends. And I can't remember, for the life of me, I wish I could remember what the person said. But, it's so-and-so certified. And I looked at him, I was like, oh. And we walked away. We almost started laughing. I'm like, that's not a real thing. What? And it was something ridiculous. But I've never seen more mushroom jerky and CBD oil in a convention center than one place than in 2019 Expo West. So there's that.
Gross. All right, here we go. This is an interesting one.
Oh.
Do supplement companies make money?
Nah.
This is from the list of questions Robbie got when he put out an
millionaire boy.
No, I mean I just like to spend all of my money to make no money and just give it away, like because. I mean, the whole goal of owning a business is to make money. I mean, dumb fuck question is this? Why do you think there's so many brands? They wouldn't, if you didn't make money, then you wouldn't make a company. It's just the point.
I guess we could we could spin it is there a huge profit margin for, like, is this a get rich quick thing where like everybody's driving around in like 6-figure cars? Is it a quick cash grab? Maybe let's like build out the question a little bit more then. So is it something that you can make a huge amount of money with very little work? Is it an easy cash grab from that thing, or are the margins tighter than the consumers actually realize?
It
depends. I think it depends, and I think that you have to. It depends what you're putting into your brand. I mean, obviously, and Drew will attest to it. Having just good formulations is definitely not enough to be successful, because you have to spend money obviously on marketing, perhaps maybe an athlete or ambassador or somebody. You have to make sure that people know about your brand. And last week we talked about it where briefly I said about the fact that Shane said he didn't know about Apollon for the first 4 years of its existence, and that is definitely our fault. And I think that, you have to make sure that you spend money to make money. So maybe you're not going to be profitable. You will be profitable, but maybe you're not going to make money because it goes back to the company.
Yep.
But it all depends. Like I know of one brand, for example, they have, I think, only pre-workout, and recently they came up with a fat burner. Both products are absolute dog shit. I mean, it's crap, garbage, manufactured somewhere in somebody's basement. One of those 3-4 grams pre-workouts that are definitely spiked. And in fact, the review channels, actually, some of the review channels, the honest review channels, did mention that it's definitely spiked. Now, I talked to a friend of mine who owns a supplement store, and he said that he's doing very well with that product. And again, it's his choice. Obviously, I disagree. Obviously, I think the consumer, I don't think there's anything wrong with making money, but there is always a decent and human and, the right way of making money. And you still have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and at least have an ounce of respect for yourself. But this is a product that is complete garbage, absolute garbage, pretty popular too. Some people placing it as a top 3 pre-workout, which is absolutely astonishing. But when you look at it, I'm sure Drew and people in the industry, if you look at the pre-workout, you will easily guess that it cost $4 or $5 to make that pre-workout. It doesn't cost $4 or $5 to make my pre-workout, and I'm sure it doesn't cost $4 or $5 to make Drew's pre-workout. Those pre-workouts are costly. There's a lot that's going on into them. However, that particular pre-workout, I asked the supplement store owner, I said, how much you paying for it? I mean, I would guess $12. That would be my honest guess. 12, 15 would be outrageous. I mean, that would be fucking huge. When he said to me that pre-workout, he's paying $28 to buy that pre-workout, $28. I will text you later the name of the pre-workout, although you probably already guessed which one it is because it's fucking pretty known. But
pressing order.
Yeah, $28. Now,
can you just tell me? I can never guess these things with these vague clues. Just fucking send it to me.
I'll send it to you right now. So the thing is that in retail price, if you go on their website, I believe the pre-workout is either $70 or $80. I mean, it blows away fucking my pre-workout, it blows away Drew's pre-workout. We're not even fucking close. And the money that we spend and the money that Drew spends and, Dragon Pharma spend on marketing, on logistics, on everything else. I mean, that little company is garbage. I mean, it's dog shit that fucking doesn't have any athletes, doesn't have anything. But the thing is like to answer whether, if he got into that market, obviously, they making money without a doubt. So unfortunately, there is a right way of doing things and there are wrong ways of doing things.
Who the fuck is that brand?
That's the name of the product.
I have never heard of them.
Come on, man.
All right. Follow-up question to do supplement companies make money. How much money do you need to start your own supplement company?
$10,000.
I can say we started with 23,000.
Yeah, you can do it for that much. It depends. You can start with less. You can start with more. I mean, it depends on how much product you're looking to make, how many products you want to launch with. Depends what you envision. Do you want to have a fat burner, a pre-workout, a protein right off the bat? Do you want to make just a pre-workout and go from there? It really depends on what you're looking to make and who you know. I mean, I know people that, oh yeah, man, I just launched my brand. It's like this guy at the gym, and he's like, I made this really cool pre, and I look at it, I'm like, how much? Okay, that's not bad, man. Do you mind me asking how much you're paying per unit? He's like, yeah, $28 a unit. I'm like, wait, you're paying $28 a unit to get this made? Did he take you out to dinner first before he took you back to his place and fucked you? Dude, what? I would pay $8 for this. He's like, really? 8? I'm like, if that? But dude, yeah.
Drew, I might ask you a question, because we talked, about starting the supplement company. If you would start your company, would you start with the pre-workout, or would you rather go with the other route and just launch a completely different product at first?
Honestly, that's a really tough question. The best path usually is to start with a pre-workout because it's something that people will try. They'll get a feel for it right away. They'll taste it. They'll get the effect from it. They get immediate feedback. Protein is something people buy predominantly on taste, and that makes them feel digestibly. It's like, oh man, I took a scoop of protein. I had a great post-workout. I felt awesome. Walk around the house. Like it's not something you can feel. It's by taste. I'd go the route of pre-workout, or I'd go along the line of, okay, what is something that's a hot commodity that people need? The big part of making sales is, okay, sometimes, it's a combination of, tell people what they need and why they need it, or you're also addressing a need that you need to solve something, like, okay, say there's not a good liver support. Okay, I want to make a product that nobody's made in this category because like it's a huge demand. How has nobody made this? That's kind of how some of these best ideas came. So I'd probably start with the pre-workout route just because it's the most logical. It's usually one of the easiest to kind of get it in front of people to actually have them try it because it's, good, and people feel effects right away. It gets the momentum rolling and it generates cash flow. I'll probably do pre-workout just for that reason.
I would say that the brands that have started with something other than pre-workout that I've seen, they always will have something like, this is my amino, it's blah, 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 it does this, this, and this. And I'm like, you're not going to do a pre-workout? And they would say, no, this is very different. It's going to stand out. And then, 3 months later? Oh, we actually are going to do a pre-workout. And I'm like, you got to start. You got to start with pre, amino, and fat burner. Those three are the ones that I've seen that typically get you out there the fastest.
Yeah. And there's such a low margin on protein too, as well. That's something else to consider.
Yeah, I wanted to say exactly the same thing. Because with protein, it's always like margins plays a huge role, and we all know that you can't compare. Plus, you can't beat the bigger modules such as like Glanbia or other brands that are on the market for so many years now, and their prices are ridiculous right now. So it's hard to compete with those guys. But as far
protein
as
is a fierce game.
Volume. They sell so much over cheaper because they just make it up for volume.
Yeah,
exactly. That's the company. The question: does supplement companies make money? Well, not in protein.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Speaking of product lineups, Drew, going through the Dragon Pharma one, y'all actually don't have a carb supplement. We're starting to see carbs bleed into intro workouts more. I was going to say, what are your thoughts on intro workout carbs? Do y'all have one maybe in the works? Do you have any preferred intra carb sources, or do you think they were all more or less the same?
Absolutely love it. Glycomorph will be launching next year. Our formula is done. It's a tri-carb source. It has one or two little kickers I'm not going to reveal yet because I don't need motherfuckers copying me yet. And I'm very proud of this product. I think it's really cool. It'll come out in unflavored. Ideally, it's designed to be stacked with the Dr. Fear. I'm a huge fan of EAAs and intra-workout carbohydrates. I'm a huge fan of cyclic dextrin, so yes, it will include that. In my opinion, that's the gold standard. There's another one that I really, really like. I'll hint at it. It actually has some properties to it where it doesn't inhibit fat burning, which is really cool. It's really metabolized and easy to digest. It also doesn't have a spike in blood sugar. So there's some cool stuff. The formula's done, 25 grams of carbs per serving. A couple other really cool things to aid in active recovery and muscle soreness, which is really cool. I'm leaving it at that. But yeah, Glycomorph will be launching next year.
After we finish this podcast, I'm going to send you a guess on what that fat burning carb that you're talking about is. I want to see if I'm right or not. Okay. I'm really curious because unless it's one that I haven't heard of yet or something. Okay. So
we'll see.
It'll be all right. And this question, this next question was directed towards me, but for the listeners out there, Drew is actually probably the OG supplement reviewer that actually made it big. So we're gonna kick things off with him. So since Robert started with the review channel, and since Drew preceded me, so Drew was a founding member of supplementreviews.com with Tommy Noonan. When Drew left and started doing other stuff, I took over writing some content for supplement reviews, and then that was kind of my jump into the industry from there. So I'm gonna let Drew lead off with this, and then we can get the rest of the panel's opinions, because this will be a juicy topic.
I got to be careful with this because I actually have some very good friends here. So yeah, there's two I actually like. It's kind of like, the thing is, hey, if you want to start some bullshit, comment on a picture of 4 women saying you 3 look great and don't say who. My issue with this is I think that it's a great thing for the industry. A lot of them I've never fucking heard of. There's a few kingpins out there in terms of reviewing things that do things a very good way. My biggest issue here, and I understand it because at the end of the day, we're on it to make money. We're all looking to make exposure. And a lot of companies obviously want their products reviewed by brands at like the channels because it gives them exposure, gives them credibility. And, unbiased, real reviews are worth their weight in gold. So by having people reviewing your product, more people talking about it, it's like, hey, we're a legit brand. When people like our product, people have tried it. This is the review source. That's what supplementreviews.com was founded on, was giving people a chamber, a platform to talk about the real experiences with the product. We also had the supplement review, the Troopers program, where a company can come in. Hey, we want to have 5 of our products reviewed. You send it to them. We pick 5 random reviewers or 5 volunteers. When a product's done, they'll post it. You won't know who's reviewing it. So therefore, it eliminated the bias. But it also gives them no incentive. Yeah, they're getting a product for free, but there's no charge there. But to the point of this is my biggest issue I see these days is there is a lot of pay to play. And a couple of them are worse than others, where they have some really good credibility. They do a really good job in terms of breaking stuff down. But then sometimes it's very frustrating. Like I'm not salty about this. So my pro, like Dragon Pharma, quite frankly, doesn't get a lot of love, a lot of spotlight in some of these channels. I'm like, is it because I'm not a sponsor here, or is it because my stuff isn't good? Like, leave it at that. But my issue is, okay, like, wow, you have some nominations for awards for some of these big brands that pay you. So that's my issue with a lot of these ones out there. I think it's great for the industry. It's brought exposure, but I think that there needs to be some checks and balances in terms of how it's gone about. And I understand, at the end of the day, you got to make money, but there's different ways of doing that. Paid advertisement's one thing. Paid content is another, because you're pitching a product because, there's a partnership there. So I'll leave it at that.
Perfect. Okay. Robbie, Shane, Lucas, any of you want to take a crack at it?
This is probably the only time. This is the only time that a lot of people are gonna wish I wasn't present today. And this is definitely not something that should have been directed at me at all.
Maybe Lucas go first next day.
I was gonna say, Robbie, you had a 45-minute interview with Heroic Muscle.
Okay, I mean, shit. I agree with Drew, because I think that actually it's very funny. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with your review channel. I'm actually a little embarrassed about it. But the thing is that it's funny probably to find yourself on both end of the spectrums, because you were reviewing products and now you're being reviewed if you're being reviewed. So I think that everything that Drew said is right, 100%, because the thing is that there is a huge difference between a review channel and somebody who's getting paid for content. Now, I think that a lot of channels have crossed the line, though, between being, paid for content where you can highlight some of the benefits of a certain product and then go and basically hype it up as if it's the best shit ever created. And that's a problem. And then you have different awards, which I seriously don't understand even how they're coming along, because clearly those awards are paid for. I mean, they are. When you're sponsoring a review channel and review channel has awards for best pre-workout, best protein, or best, brand of the year or something like that, and all of a sudden you see the top 5 companies are clearly collaborating, clearly involved with the reviewer channel, that's wrong. When you review a product, it should be unbiased. Review should be definitely unbiased. And, when you're putting a quality product, like, Drew said that he doesn't get a lot of love, that's fucked up. I mean, I looked at the formulas. Their formulas are really good. I mean, they have good products, and it's coming from somewhat of a competitor, but I give credit where credit due. They have good product. So for them not to get fucking love is ridiculous. Why are they being ignored? Because, clearly they didn't pay somebody or something like that. Because I see, we're not naming review channels right now, but there are channels that are calling themselves leaders, and they calling themselves innovators and God knows what. But at the end of the day, they are fucking whores. I mean, they prostitutes. That's who they are. They're getting paid to, a prostitute gets paid to fucking moan and pretend like she's enjoying when you fuck her. But at the end of the day, all she's enjoying is your fucking money. And as soon as you're done, and she was going to forget who you are. You were just number 72 for the day. That's what it is.
Damn, for the day.
I have many questions. 72 in one day. That's
that is a hard working hooker, my friend.
What do you think?
3 an hour, man. It's 3 an hour.
Well, most of these guys don't last anyway, so I mean, it's just common sense. But
we just lost 500.
When you have a fucking review channel, a guy is fucking sitting in front of the screen at 2 p.m. Clearly, he doesn't have a job, because at 2 p.m. he's reviewing a fucking product. You're not reviewing. You just fucking got a check to review the product, and you're not reviewing. You're fucking hyping the product. That's all you're doing. You're not a leader of the industry. You're a fucking dark fucking dot in this industry because you're garbage.
It's getting hot here.
You're a nobody. You're not a leader. You're a disgrace because you just hyped up. You found a way to hype up a fucking proprietary blend with fucking 2 grams ingredients, and you're hyping it up that it's like fucking game changer all of a sudden. At the review channels, and there are so many of them, some of them you don't even know who the fuck they are. They popping up left and right. I got a fucking request. Give me your product. I'm going to review it. I'm going to tell my friends. You have fucking 2 followers, and you look like you've never seen the day in a gym. I mean, you don't even know what a dumbbell is. All of a sudden you want to fucking review the product. What are you going to review? My favorite is, let me try your product. What the fuck you want to try? The label says exactly what's in it. You don't go to a fucking restaurant and you're going to go like, does your fucking steak taste like a steak? It's a fucking steak. That's what it is.
Can I have a sample packet of steak?
What? Yeah, can I have a sample? Your steak is 20 ounces. Can I have 18 ounces just to sample it?
Can I suck
the review channels are definitely, I think right now, are one of the worst things about the industry. And I think that right now we have a serious fucking problem going on.
I agree with the comment.
1 second, I'll give you a comment here. I honestly, I stay the fuck out of YouTube because I don't care about what Tom, Dick, and Harry have to say about Venom. Like, so yeah, Dragon Pharma sent me this product. I'm like, no, we didn't. You bought it, but great. Oh, yeah, so I'm going to break down the ingredients. Okay, so we got this here and this here and this here. I'm like, wow, you literally said nothing about the fucking product does. And like, oh, well, I'd like to see this in here, so I'm going to give it a, and like they arrive at this arbitrary number. Like, I really like the ingredient profile. I think it's missing this. I think it's missing this. I really like this. And like that with the numbers at the end, like, okay, on the scale of 1 to what? Doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, oh, so even the stuff they like, I got great energy, I got great focus. It tasted really good. The only thing I didn't like was when I believe there's a little black speck in the bottom of the shakers here. So I'm going to give it, even though I really like the product, a 9.1 out of 10. And like, okay, the flavor is really good. I'm going to give it a 9.2 out of 10. I'm like, okay, fucking Einstein, do the fucking juice-matic equation for like Starburst to figure out this number and just pull it out of your ass. So I avoid YouTube. I was thinking like in the more narrow scope of things, like the major big content review channels, which is the ones I kind of focus on. But the YouTube I don't pay attention to, but carry on, sir.
Yeah, but the thing is that even the sales reps in the industry, how many people want to be sales rep? We had one guy who is a sales rep who asked me a question. Hooligan has citrulline in it and it has caffeine. Do you really need to have both of them? Aren't they the same thing? I mean, you get that, and it's people within the industry, and then you have a review channel. Recently, I saw somebody. This product has citrulline and beta-alanine, so the energy is going to be pretty good. The fuck you talking about? And there are people who are subscribing to these channels and they're listening to it. In the end, you're right. You're right. I mean, they're more entertaining than anything because they have zero relevance. But if there is one person who was thinking about buying either Hooligan or Venom, just one person who watched that fucking channel and decided not to buy it just because of this guy's review, because he doesn't understand, obviously the contents of the products or anything like that, there is a problem. It's a problem for me, it's a problem for you, and it's a problem for the industry. And I think that calling out these review channels, just like they call us out or they disrespect us by giving awards to a product, like personally me, I find it offensive when I see a product that is clearly not even in the vicinity as good as what we make, all of a sudden gets an award of the best of the year or something. I think it's offensive. I think it's disrespectful. It's a fucking same thing as Al Pacino not getting an Academy Award because he's going to lose to fucking Ron Jeremy. That's fucked up. That's like it makes no sense.
Yeah. Or there's certain places, like retailers, whatever, pay to play. Like one of the worst ones of all fucking time is bodybuilding.com. Like really? Okay, your product of the year is Muscle Farm, like 3 of the 4 top categories, and your fucking brother is the CEO of Muscle Farm and the CEO of bodybuilding.com are related, the Lukasz. Get the fuck out of here. You don't think that's biased? Or anybody that like considers C4 pre-workout, if like, oh, C4 is pre, shut the fuck up. You don't know anything. Go home, peasant. Anyway, carry on. So,
There you go. Amen to that, Pete.
I make no statements.
Went through 3 ACL tears on the left and 1 ACL meniscus on the right with some broken bones. It really made me realize how important strength training is. Damn, that 3 ACL tears. I mean, that sucks. What's the let's build off of this then. What's the worst injury you've suffered in either your lifting career, sports background, or whatever?
Okay.
Lead off, Drew.
The only injury really I've had in my life that I consider like an injury. I mean, oh yeah, I've tweaked something here. I've had a high ankle sprain. Yeah, fuck that. The worst one, the only one I've had a big issue with, my right wrist. Most people can't even see it on here because it's been healed over and I got tattooed over. I broke the right scaphoid in my right wrist. My senior year of wrestling in December, the first tournament of the year, I threw a kid, elbow hit the mat, his body lay on top, it popped. And I thought I sprained my wrist. I didn't know I had a broken wrist. And I'm a hard-nosed fucking wrestler. I finished the match, wrestled for 2.5 more months all the way through state before I went to the doctor. I thought it's not going to heal. It's sprained. It's wrestling season. I didn't notice it much. And I had a broken bone, a broken scaphoid, most commonly broken bone in the wrist. Normally it breaks in the middle. Lucky me, a piece of mine broke off toward the bottom. The blood supply comes in at the top. So they put it in a cast for 4 weeks, didn't do shit. The bone had a little bit of necrosis. Like, okay, it's going to need surgery. So I played an entire summer of baseball. My right wrist is my throwing wrist. And I had surgery in August. They put a screw in the bone to hold it together with a bone growth stimulator, like a port in the cast to help it heal. In August, it didn't fucking heal. So I had a second surgery in December that year, 2 days before Christmas. This was in 2008. And I did a bone graft from the right radius, put 2 pins in across it, about 2.5, 3 inches long, and put it in a cast for 6 weeks. And that finally got to heal. Then I had rehab, and it was a pain in the ass. And the highlight of that is when they went to take the pins out, the doctor walks in. There's this kind of a cool side story. This is back in Nebraska, my home state. I'm from a little town called DeWitt, Nebraska. Maybe you guys out of the States, maybe not so much. What's up, Boca James? There's a thing called a vice grip. Have you guys seen those locking pliers called a vice grip? Those were actually invented and made in my hometown of DeWitt, Nebraska. 600 people if the census isn't inflated, right? That's where that was invented. So I'm like, so how do you take those pins out? I was like, oh, pull them out with a vice grip. I laughed. I'm like, okay. And he comes in with a fucking vice grip and pulls the pins out. This is an orthopedic surgeon. He's like, no, I'm serious. Clamps it on and pulls the pins out of my wrist. I'm like, ooh, that was fun. I didn't hurt, but it was a weird sensation. So a broken scaphoid is my worst injury.
Robbie?
Torn quad 6 weeks out from my fight. Yeah, I was, and the funny thing is, like, it's not during sparring, not even kicking the pads or anything like that. I was literally practicing on a heavy bag and throwing a low kick, and I think I didn't warm up. I just landed from South Africa, and I went straight to the gym, and it was, I think it was January. It was January, and it was still cold, so I didn't warm up, and I started throwing like low kicks, on a heavy bag, and I remember that I didn't even connect. Like my leg was still in the air where I heard like a pop, and I just went down thinking I broke my leg because I've never torn anything in my life, never broken anything. I went down, and I'm like, I broke my leg. Like what the fuck? There's no pain because I still think I'm in shock. So there was zero pain. Like I literally didn't feel nothing. And then I started touching my leg because it was numb. Like I couldn't get up. And I realized that the portion of the muscle just above my knee is missing. I was like, okay, now I know what happened. And that sucked.
I had a partially torn quad where I still have a divot in my quad, so I know your pain from playing flag football in the cold. That sucks.
It sucked. And you know what? A thing is that I didn't feel no pain when it happened. I felt no pain before the surgery, which was, I think, like it took place like 3 or 4 days later. So I was not in pain. That was the funny thing. It's just I could not step on my on my foot. That was impossible because it was just fucking hanging like that. So but after I had the surgery, I was in somewhat a bit of a pain. Nothing was more painful than a fucking physical therapy to break down to break the scar tissue. I mean, I'm not even fucking embarrassed to admit it. I was crying. And it was that pain when they break your scar tissue.
Yeah.
That was terrible. Yeah, not a pleasant experience.
I didn't
Same
think
thing.
Russians felt pain, Robbie. Come on, you're doing disservice to Ivan Drago from Rocky IV.
Yeah.
I'm a
It's the
pussy.
same thing after that wrist, man. It's weird because you're in the spica cast for 6 weeks. Like after they take the cast off, your wrist is frozen and you can't move your thumb because it's frozen in place. So just to get that mobility back, I rehabbed it by playing Call of Duty, and the airport had to do physical therapy.
You had to go through physical therapy as well.
Yeah, dude, I couldn't move my wrist. It was frozen. They literally had to mechanically like stretch it and break up the scar tissue on top of strengthening exercises.
So how long did it take?
I think the rehab of it took like full rehab was about 6 to 8 weeks, but I mean, I was ready to go to the gym, and it's just a matter these days. I can bend it all the way forward, but the mobility of it stops going backwards.
You can kind of see the difference on it.
I don't even notice it honestly at the gym. I mean, I go about my daily life. I don't hardly ever notice it. So,
Gotcha. Lucas, any catastrophic injuries?
Not. I can't compare to Robic or Drew, but I had some like only broken fingers due to basketball, but that's basically it.
Shane?
Nothing major.
I never broken anything or torn anything. I was a swimmer for 15 years, so it was a bit of a. But I did. I don't know what it's called. My wife had the same thing. I had a tear in my one of my discs in my lower, like a fiber tear, in just my lower back. So it does that. Like you can still, even when it flares up, you can still do shit, but it just gets annoying because it inflames like crazy and it goes stiff for like 3 days. It's gone now, but my big one was the nerve, the funny bone nerve thing slipped out of the hole or something, and it wore away the protective layer around the nerve. So if I held my arm bent for like 20 seconds, it went dead kind of thing. And I was a swimmer back in the day. So when I would swim, I would just lose feeling in my hand pretty quickly. Yeah. And so I went to the doctor and they said, oh, you might have to get surgery or you'll have to like put it in a cast and wait for the nerve to repair itself. But because I kept bending it, it kept ruining the healing. So I built my own cast out of 2 shoehorns and I kept my arm straight for 3 months. I bent it like at night because I was like, I'm not fucking getting surgery because he was like, and I was like, okay. So I built my cast, kept my arm straight for three months, and I did deadlifts and squats because anything where my arm could stay straight. And then I took this little makeshift cast off, and it was fucking no pain, no nothing, no problems. The only issue was that as soon as I went in and swam for the first time, I was a breaststroker. My left arm just like cut through the water. I was pretty much skinning the circles because my left arm couldn't grip or do or pull anything. I just thought it would be normal. I don't know why, but there was absolutely zero strength in the left arm. And I was like, oh, fuck, this is probably going to take some time. I got back to it eventually, but because surgery, he was saying, could take like fucking forever. I was like, I can do that. I can put myself in a cast. And I did.
There you go.
I actually don't try that.
I have something funny. I just remember I had another injury. Is that this was only a couple of years ago. I have a very bad, or used to have bad ADD. So if somebody to get my attention, I can be all over the place. So I was doing a drill with my coach. And we were kicking each other. But I was supposed to catch his leg. He's supposed to catch my leg. It's just a drill. Robert probably knows about this and has done it a million times. So we're doing a drill. I have a problem sometimes like focusing on a person. So as he was kicking me, he was about to kick me. I was just supposed to catch his leg and that's it. Somebody walked into the door and it completely got my attention where I went like, huh? And I got the kick without catching it. And like, oh shit, and it cracked my ribs. Oh. So I was like, fuck, I was like, why can't I fucking breathe? So I went to a doctor and And I remember I was telling him, doctor, I said, I have a problem like concentrating, like it sucks, He goes to me, here's a script for Adderall. I was like, well, that's not the reason why I came here, but I'll take it.
Next on Supplement Scoop, the opioid epidemic in the
Pete, that's a hell of a list of injuries, man.
Yeah, what?
Just get used to hernias.
Man.
That just tells me don't make it to age 50. Just get out before age 50 and you'll be fine.
kneecap.
How many of those happened recently?
Yeah.
All of them?
It's a life of heavy lifting, of abuse.
All at the same time.
The thing that started us down this rabbit hole, my comment came in place of how important strength training can be absolutely essential. I'd say it's even more important than cardio because your heart rate will get elevated with, if you're going heavy enough on squats or something like that, your heart rate's definitely going to get jacked up. And Sandy does hate to run, so do I.
I agree with you. It's important for injury prevention, but like getting a broken leg or tearing your ACL or something like that, that's something that you can't prevent. If you get sideswiped by a 300-pound lineman in football, that's not strength training. That's just a shitty injury, So
Right.
I agree with you to a degree.
Yeah. Basketball. Nice.
Oh.
All right.
That was a nice list.
Before COVID, even before the shitstorm of 2020, were fitness expos on the way out?
Nah. Maybe in the US, but I don't know
I
about
will
anywhere
say
else.
to a degree that the trick-or-treating has kind of subsided a little bit, thankfully, because for a while there, the Arnold is a clusterfuck. As a brand, personally, I don't care how this sounds. I have no interest whatsoever in doing a booth. A lot of big companies, I'm not going to Tom stopped doing it, Cellucor, a lot of the big ones, they stopped doing booths because the ROI on that, there really isn't there. A lot of times what's going to happen, and pardon for speaking to everybody here, as a brand, you go, you set up, you have tons of people walk on the floor, and it turns into, okay, you give out a bag, somebody else gives out a bigger bag, so your bag goes inside their bag, then you get a bigger bag, the next thing you have one that says bang, that's 5 feet long in a canoe, they're pulling behind you. You're trick-or-treating, you go up, oh my God, free shit, free shit, free shit. You throw all these things in the bag. I've seen people coat their entire hotel bed with supplements. When you try to work out 6 months from now, the company may not even be around. So, okay, great. You got a sample. You're not trying it there. You're going to forget about it. And it's not really that great of a marketing tool. Everybody just wants free fucking things. The one thing I do as efficacy or efficiency in terms of that, if you're somebody like Ben, where you're handing out cans at the expo, that person's going to drink it right there. They're going to have it in their hand, walking around the expo. That's advertising. That one makes sense to me, but I like the approach that people like FIBO and Body Power take overseas. When I went to those expos, it was actually a selling show where you get people aren't just getting free shit. It's well organized. It's not a cluster. It's not a free-for-all trick-or-treating. Where people are actually buying stuff. Like, oh, I'm going to get a really good deal on protein at the show because I'm buying something. It's more organized. But a lot of expos, for one point, I think when I first went to Olympia, I remember this very distinctly. I think it was Olympia 2013. I remember the Muscle Tech booth. It was like literally 30 yards long with a giant flat screen of like monitors. I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, wow, you guys wonder where that money goes? That company is like a $200,000 booth. How much are you making off of that, man? Like,
Nothing. They definitely make nothing. It's just like, they big companies, and I guess it's a write-off or something like that because it makes no sense. And I remember what you're talking about. I mean, if we're talking about the same Muscle Tech booth, that was years ago. I think they had Jay Cutler, Dexter Jackson, Branch Warren. They had everybody. It was like, 10 top pros, top 10 of the Olympia were with Muscle Tech. But the problem is I have is like, the only reason why people went to the booth is to meet those guys. It had absolutely nothing to do with the product, or like you're saying, trick-or-treating, where they can get freebies, but it's not going to fucking promote your company at all.
I'll take that a step further. I don't even really believe in paying athletes. I know this is odd coming from me, but like, bro, like I like the athletes we have. Some of them are really cool. So I'm going to say in general, this isn't everybody. I'm going to say 9 out of 10. This isn't personally pointing anybody out. And then I don't really care. Take it for what it's worth. It's really hard to gauge an ROI for paying a fucking athlete. I think if you have athletes, you should have an agreement with them. Like, okay, we're going to pay you, like say a little bit, but here you can get some free product, but we're going to give you commission from product that you actually bring sales in. Because for some athletes, okay, what justifies the cost for paying you? That's really cool, but is that really selling me more product? And to your point, somebody's coming to the booth there like, well, great. I flew you in. I paid for your hotel. I paid for your food. I deal with your shitty fucking attitude. You're in prep. Yep. You're competing this week. You're a fucking zombie at the booth. You're there because you have to be. We promoted you. People are there for you. But what does that do for my fucking brand? It's dumb. So
agree. And look, perfect example today. I just noticed something. I'm a big Ruli Winkler fan. I think he's a great bodybuilder. I've met him a few times. I've talked to him a few times. He definitely has a problem with, or had a problem last time I talked to him with English. His pronunciation is not very clear. It's hard to understand him. So I can only imagine that, him promoting a product to an English-speaking market is probably not very easy. But again, very nice guy, at least from my perception of him, great guy. However, this guy has, I just looked up today, he has 1.7 million followers on Instagram. And I'm pretty sure that most of them are legit, maybe all of them, because he is very popular, he is very freaky, down to earth. However, 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, he was with BSN. He was let go of BSN. He was for 1 year, I believe, with Yamamoto Nutrition. After 1 year, I assumed the contract was up. He was with BPI. I think he is no longer with BPI because I looked it up and I didn't see BPI on his page. I'm starting to, and it's about a year now. Again, I don't want to make that claim because I'm not sure, but it looks like he's no longer with BPI. If he's not, 1 year, I believe, with Yamamoto. What's that?
My thing on the notification, Drew Peters is live.
He was definitely with Yamamoto Pro for a year, maybe for 2 years, but not for a long period of time. The thing is, those are all big companies. They definitely have the finances and everything else, but there is very little ROI on that because my assumption is that somebody like Ruli Winkler, who has $1.7 million, and again, I agree with Drew. Dragon Pharma has athletes. We have athletes too. So it's no disrespect to any of those athletes from either companies because not everybody is useless. However, some of them are. They're not bringing not only the money, they're not even bringing attention to the company. Unfortunately, some of them are still very, very arrogant and very cocky. Don't touch me because I'm in prep. Don't talk to me because I'm doing a show, or I'm spending time with my family, so I cannot fucking make an appearance for your company during the weekend, and goes on and on and on. So it's definitely not what it used to be when it comes to athletes. And look, case in point, I just brought up Muscle Tech. Muscle Tech 1 year dropped everybody. Yep. Everybody. I mean, it wasn't like, one after another. Everybody was dropped. All of a sudden, Muscle Tech has no athletes. I'm pretty sure they still had the money. But there was a rumor that I think Phil Heath was getting paid like $500,000 or Jay Cutler. I mean, $500,000, you need to fucking, if that's true, again, this is allegedly, so don't fucking jump on me. But $500,000, that's allegedly you need to sell over $1 million in product. And if you take into consideration also flying you fucking first class, because I'm sure that's how they fly, and putting you in hotels and giving you fucking prize money and God knows what, $500,000 becomes fucking probably $1 million a year. $1 million a year. How much product needs to be sold because of you just to justify your salary? So, I mean, now imagine if you do have that $1 million to spend on an athlete, try to put that $1 million into social media and other types of promotions, and I'm pretty sure you're going to get a lot more out of it.
There we go.
No comment for the question below. No comment.
No what?
No comment. So the Rami's with Dragon Pharma. No comment.
Okay.
He's expensive.
I would imagine most of these top tier guys are.
Leave it there. Just expensive. We'll leave it at that. No comment.
Since we're on the subject of bodybuilders, we were talking about this before we hit the record button. Let's bring it up though. So, big news story of the week was that the Olympia is now being moved to Florida. And Drew, you're a bodybuilding aficionado. The wonderful free state of Florida, one of the few that's left in the union. What do you? Who do you have? Do you have any favorites? Do you go and lean in one way or the other, or are you just hoping for like a really good, clean competition?
I gotta be really honest with you. I haven't paid really attention to anybody this year leading up to the show because there's been other things going on. I've been focused on our brand, and I know it's a weird thing to say. Like, well, it's separate, you can see it at night. Like, I just haven't paid attention to it. I'm still hoping that someday, I know it's a pipe dream, I hope Kai could actually come back. I know it's not going to happen. He was actually somebody I really liked. I wanted to see him get his due because he's a phenomenal bodybuilder. He's an amazing poser. He's a gentleman person. From my interaction with him and things I've heard, he's a cool dude. He appreciates his fans. He's not arrogant fuck, unlike some. So aside from that, there's some Bibles I really like. To answer the question there, I really don't have anybody picked. I'm glad that we're in Florida. We don't have to deal with some of the bullshit from the hypocritical, dumb fuck governors of this country. Not gonna get political here, but it drives me fucking batty. And leave it at that. So it's kind of cool. It's up the road from me. I'm in South Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, especially Sunrise. So it'll be kind of cool to have it in Orlando. Will I go to the show? Probably not, because I have our shit going on. But I'm glad that it does go on. So there's that.
Okay.
I'm saying Phil. I'm saying Phil purely because I'm a Phil fan.
Cool.
Not really. I mean, I don't really follow like intensely. Like I follow them on Instagram and see their progress pics because progress pics are not really. It's whatever they choose.
Exactly.
I don't really know.
Everybody looks good on Instagram, but how they look on stage.
Yeah, and it's like they just show you what they want. I mean, if they look shit, they're not going to put up a progress pic.
Yeah, it's the highlight reel.
So, but I say Phil only because I'm a fan, and I mean it's greatness. Some sports I like seeing the great guys fail if they're like dicks, but if with Phil, I mean I just like his look. I think he's awesome. I was there when he got his the gold trophy for the 50th. That was the only Olympia I've actually seen in person, and I was on the ground floor. I just a fan of his look. I mean, it's changed a little bit over the years, but it's I would love to see him tie that 8 just out of pure, because it hasn't happened since Ronnie in 2004 or 5, whenever the fuck it happened.
Yep.
6, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, somewhere mid there, and it just I would love to see it. See greatness, see the boundary push, because I don't know if it's going to happen.
I think that Phil looked his best probably around 2011, 2012. Then he wasn't at his best for the last few, but I have to agree. I mean, I don't like making predictions because so many things go into it. Anyone can show up on the money and so many factors go into it. I don't like predicting fights either because, I'll do it with Shane because it's always cool to talk to Shane about it. But honestly, every prediction we make, most of the time we are wrong. So it's kind of embarrassing, but we're just having fun.
I'm not making a prediction. I'm just sort of like, as a fan. I'm more of a fan.
I think like,
I want my favorite to win. It's probably not a smart choice.
I think Phil, if he comes in shape, and again, it's always if Phil comes in shape, I don't think anyone can touch him for sure, because he's definitely superior to everybody else just from the genetic perspective. But again, will he come in shape? I think the last couple, I definitely agreed when he lost. I did agree with that decision.
Yep.
I don't think best man won, but best man on that stage that night definitely won. But if Phil, I didn't also agree as nice of a guy he is. Brandon Curry won last year. I don't think he was the best conditioned guy on stage, and I always think that conditioning should be the main thing.
Same.
But again, I mean, if Phil comes in shape, it's Phil's show to lose, definitely. Yeah. And I think the guy who actually could have given him the most run for his money, I think it was Flex Lewis. I
was excited for that too.
I think Flex Lewis had a legitimate, chance at beating Phil, even if Phil comes on the money, because Flex is just so complete. And he always comes in shape. He's just on a whole other level. And everybody talked about Huddy, and everybody talked obviously about Brandon Curry because he's the reigning Mr. Olympia. And, people talk still about Dexter Jackson and Big Ramy. I think Big Ramy has a potential to win every year. Just the way he looks is impressive as fuck.
He always has the chance, but he just never.
Yeah, I think honestly, the problem with Ramy, I think the only problem with Ramy is that he jumps from one coach to another one. That's, I think, the only problem he has, because, he has such a massive physique that I would think that any coach has to get some time to figure it out, and it takes time to work with somebody. And Drew has competed in bodybuilding, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know how many times you've competed, but I'm pretty sure if it's more than twice, then there was time where you didn't come as good as you wanted to come because something went wrong. It just takes time to figure out your mistakes, to figure out your body. And if Ramy came, in shape, he's always in shape. That crazy conditioning that we expect from him, I think nobody can stand next to that guy. He's just that good.
Massive human. Yeah, actually, I'm more excited for the 212s than I am the Open, to be quite frank, because I want to see if Derek Lunsford can finally.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah,
I thought
he kind of missed it last year.
because for a long time he was neck and neck with Flex, one of the best of the time. He almost took it. I'm like, dude, that was so close. So like, oh, Flex is not doing the 212s anymore. And then lo and behold, the new guy came in. I'm like, damn, okay. So Derek, it's on you, man. Guy's a young gentleman, freak physique. I'm hoping he can break that ceiling. So I think that'd be something to see. But I agree with the Flex. I'd be very interested to see him in the Open. So hope someday that happens. So.
Personally, I don't think that Derek has a chance to be in top 5 this year.
Really? Really?
I don't think he's gonna be even in top 5, especially with this lineup.
I'm surprised.
I'm
I don't
curious.
I don't think so.
That's the highlight of the episode.
In my opinion,
That actually statement shocked me a little bit, but I mean, anything can happen.
In my opinion, Florida can take it all. And just, I saw his shape, and he looks ridiculous right now. And to be honest, he blows out of the water all the competitors. So I think that he has the massive chance to be the 212 for Mr. Olympia. But as far as the Open, I talked with Jay this past few days, and we discussed, the Orlando move and everything. And he said it's perfect way. If Phil's gonna come up, no one's can beat Phil. That's the bottom line, and I think he made it perfect. I think Brandon has made some massive improvements, but I think that if Phil's gonna, of course, if Phil's gonna, come up with the shape and the physique that we all know from back in the days, yeah.
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is that, and I fully agree with that statement, but there is always a flip side to that. If you remember, and again, not to take anything away from Jay, because especially when Jay made a comeback after losing to Dexter Jackson, the way he came back, that was ridiculous. That was one of the best things I have ever seen. But winning the first time, specifically the first time, Jay didn't win because he was that good. Jay won because Ronnie wasn't.
Yeah. And Jay's admitted that too. He said he won on Ronnie's way out. So
So the thing is, it's the same way as what's his name? Who beat Phil Heath?
Sean Roden.
Sean Roden, yeah.
That was one of the things I've ever seen. I was wanting Phil to finally fucking lose for once, but then
I think Sean Roden won because Phil was off. I mean, if Phil was on,
he was off.
Yeah, Sean wouldn't have beat him. I mean, that's just
part of that. Watching it live was when they said, "Gentlemen, overhead abdominal thigh," and Sean stops. He turns, puts his hands on his hips, and waits for Phil to hit the pose. I'm like, "Oh shit!" He just called out his gut.
That
was filthy. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
By the way, do you have any predictions as far as the classic? Because I'm a huge fan of a classic, so I just wanted to.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. From my personal, I understand that Bumstead was, he won last year. Yeah. I still think that Brion is better. I mean, just he's more complete. He doesn't have flaws to his physique. He's always grainy, hard. So, does he have the same shape as Bumstead in terms of Bumstead is tall, he has a small waist, and he looks just, especially from the front, he looks amazing. But once they turn from the back and the side and the thickness of the muscles and the conditioning and the muscle maturity, I just think that Brion is on a whole other level. I mean, that's just me, because that's just the way I see it. But I totally see why Bumstead won. Don't get me wrong. But if it's my call, I would give it to Brion.
Okay.
All right, we've touched on this as a group before, but Drew, let's get your thoughts on this. Influencers, so not necessarily bodybuilders, athletes that they're sponsored for a brand, but what are these influencers who maybe necessarily haven't competed on the stage? They've just somehow gotten famous on social media.
They're a dime a dozen. Some of them, I'm like, I don't understand why the fuck you're famous. Okay. So on the women's side of it, congrats, you found a way to monetize posting your ass on Instagram. From the guys' perspective of it, like there's some really cool things. Okay, like you have your niche, like Larry Wheels, well known. He's one of those freaky strong people I've ever seen. I'm like these stupid human tricks. I'm like, good God, that's awesome. Castleberry, love him or hate him, he's built a niche for himself. There's a lot of people out there that follow him, and that's the other part that goes back to where we're just talking about competing. Outside of our little world here, some of the best bodybuilders on the planet, outside of like, maybe Arnold or Phil, okay, people don't know who the fuck they are. You're like, I'm a huge fan of John Meadows. Like, who's John Meadows? I'm like, really don't know who John Meadows is? Like, Mountain Dog? He's fucking awesome.
Yeah, he is.
So some of the most famous people that monetize and make a living in the fitness world don't even fucking compete. Like Bradley Martin, the dude has like, 2 million followers on YouTube, something obscene like that.
Yeah.
So what's your take? I mean, they do good in their space. I think they have their value and certain things like that. My issue with it is everybody's an influencer now. But I got some hard truth, and I don't care. Most people laugh at this. Like, chances are, nobody gives a fuck who you are. They don't really care. Ladies out there, you have a lot of followers. Nobody gives a fuck what you have to say. They don't read your caption or looking at your fucking butthole. For guys out there, same deal. There's eye candy for some women. Guys want to look like you. Oh, man, bro, you're jacked. They don't give a fuck what you're taking. So there's some hard truth. Truth.
Awesome. Outstanding. All right, gentlemen, this has been a blast. For you the listeners out there tuning in on live stream, thank you for joining us. If you like what we're doing here, give us a like, thumbs up, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. That helps us climb up in the algorithm and the rankings and all that. Drew, thank you for spending some time with us, my friend. This was a blast, as always. Tell everybody where they can find you, and you can do a shameless plug for anything Dragon Pharma.
Kiss me on the side. How about that? Because I ain't saving time for Thanksgiving. I am actually. I'm at my kitchen table now. With that being said, IG, Vanilla Gorilla Drew, not hard to find. Dragon Pharma, we always have cool stuff coming out. I'm very excited. We got the RX series, more stuff dropping. The Isoform, fucking finally. Coming in hot, should be launching next week. If you guys haven't seen that, I know a few people are very pumped about this. The white chocolate peanut butter, my personal recommendation and favorite. Get your hands on that. The hot chocolates, cookies and cream, vanilla soft serve, and we got a blueberry ice cream. I'm really excited to finally get that out into the world. A lot of work on the rebrand, some delays. It's going to be fire. Same thing, keeping momentum going. You haven't tried Venom, Mr. Veins. That's always been a staple for us. And be on a really cool lookout for some very cool products coming in 2021. So that's what I got for you guys. If you ever have any questions at all, always feel free to reach out, message us. A big part we're big on at Dragon is being there to help educate people, both for myself. Wifey, she's the director of marketing manager there in terms of the social media. She helps a lot with that. The customer service is her forte. We just launched a Dragon Army to provide a lot of information for people out there that want to be involved, and not necessarily as an athlete, but an ambassador. So she's always happy to help as well. Everybody on the team there does a really good job of working cohesively. We have a family, amazing video team, marketing, and we're all here to help. We want people to believe in the brand, be a part of it, and that's one thing we have going for us. People love being a part of the brand. So from top to bottom, we're here to help you reach your goals. That's my shameless pitch, because that's what we're about. We live it.
Outstanding. All right, guys. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will catch you next time on The Final Scoop.
Thank you.